shiny machines are consuming the things that we need for survival. Removing the future, removing the past. These shiny machines are removing the future, removing the past.
Early life is a topic which really fascinates me. How did we go from a prebiotic world to a world where everywhere you look is covered in life? Did this happen on Earth, or did it happen somewhere else? It's really hard to tell because these things don't fossilize very well, but we can have a look at a lot of evidence from meteorites that have landed during the late heavy bombardment of the solar system, before Earth was habitable as we think about it. When we look at Mars now, it's a rocky planet that looks quite uninhabitable. We look at analogues like Death Valley for where we would look for life on Mars, because it's a barren, wind-eroded, dry place. When life arose on Earth, Mars was warm and wet. If we were to take photos and look at what Mars was like then, it would be perfect conditions for life now. It would look something like a swamp. Why did Mars become like it did? Mars is significantly smaller than Earth. Earth is huge, so we have a lot of gravity pushing down on the core of the Earth. That keeps the core molten and spinning. That gives us a magnetic field that surrounds the Earth and stops the solar wind from blowing away our atmosphere. When we look at Mars, it has no atmosphere, or very, very little atmosphere, in orders of thousands of times less than Earth. This creates a whole range of problems, one of the most important being it's completely irradiated with UV radiation. On Earth, we don't have that. But if we look back to when the solar system was first forming, the core of Mars hadn't cooled yet, and that allowed liquid water and potentially a much better atmosphere. Around this time, the solar system was a really violent place. The solar system was born as a result of clouds of gas and dust condensing, forming an accretionary disk across the solar system. This left tons of space junk flying around. You have asteroids, moon-sized objects, smashing in each of the planets as they start to get bigger and bigger, causing them to have more gravity, bringing even more asteroids in. We call this the late heavy bombardment period. There's no straight line you can say when Earth became a rock and became Earth, but it's sometime around 4.5 billion years ago. During this time, massive asteroids are smashing into the planets, causing debris to fly across huge distances, and there was a lot of exchange between Earth and Mars. Around this time, Mars was a very hospitable place, so there is pieces of rocks flying from Mars to Earth all the time. In fact, it's been hypothesized that Mars actually might have been a better place for life to have formed. Our current understanding of how life formed is that as soon as it was able to be formed, it did. We have evidence for definitely 3.5 billion years ago, and possibly even further back in time, for life on Earth. If the same thing was happening on Mars, the conditions for life were perfect. It's very likely that this single event, the generation of life, or as we call it, abiogenesis, happened on Mars, and then an asteroid impact brought it here. Manned missions to Mars might not be our first steps onto another planet, but might be a return home.